So, Alex Stevenson, then, you're a councillor over in the Amber Valley.
Derbyshire County Council.
Derbyshire County Council, then. Can you just tell, when did you first become a councillor? What kind of drew you to want to become a councillor?
14 years ago, 15 years ago nearly now, yeah. I was working with the local MP, Nigel Mills, helping him with his campaign. He got elected. Then he had to give up his seat at Shipley. So he asked me to stand at Shipley. I stood there. I think I got an 83 majority, and then increased it after that up to about 1,500 majority. I think I contested 3, maybe 4 elections there.
And which party did you stand for? Or you
Conservative.
So you were Conservative, yeah, at the time then? So
yeah.
where did that leave you through? So you changed from Conservative to Reform. Was that just in the last couple of years?
Yeah, we left for Reform after supporting Andrew Bridgen over the vaccine harms. I was suspended from the Amber Valley Conservative group and the Derbyshire County Council Conservative group. Derbyshire County Council was by text, then Amber Valley was by email.
And just to understand then, what was the Conservative Party's sort of problem with you when you say like with vaccines then?
They said I was getting close to the mark for months, well probably a couple of years of the COVID crisis. They didn't like me speaking out. They didn't like me doing freedom of information requests using the council equipment, council resources. 1 month alone, I got 29 freedom of information requests, all telling us that there was serious issues with the vaccine. I told Barry Lewis. Barry Lewis wasn't interested. All I kept getting from him was his mother died from COVID and he wasn't interested. I told other councillors, they weren't interested. In a group chat I was in, I didn't realise Andrew Bridgen was in the group chat. He then was interested. So sent him the information. I think at that time he was also working on it. And he went from there with a team of doctors. And that's where he is now.
And when you were forced to leave the Conservative Party, then were you just an independent for a while? You know, what happened? Because you joined Reform then, or was that a straight move across to Reform UK?
Because of all the hassle I was getting from the Conservatives, I applied to join Reform probably about 6 months before, and asked them if I could be their parliamentary candidate for Amber Valley. I went through their vetting process for months. I had 6 interviews with various people. They then came back to me and said that they would accept me as their parliamentary candidate.
What year was that then?
Election was last year, wasn't it? So it was the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah, the year before the election.
2023 then, yeah.
Yeah. I asked Andrew Bridgen what he was doing, whether he was going to go to Reform or going somewhere else. At the time he wanted to stop with the Conservatives, but then in the end they did suspend him. But we had to make a decision because we'd got local elections coming up. We needed something. So we had 2 meetings with Richard Tice. They went okay, but we had a better offer from Reclaim financially to support us, but we thought Reform was going to be the better option for going forward. So we decided to join Reform, and they gave us funding to fight that election. I think it was about £6,500 for the local elections.
And at that time you got a lot of support in the community, hadn't you?
Yeah,
so
a lot of support.
Was that part of the appeal then to Reform, that they were kind of
they said,
joining with you to take on a ground base of support?
Well, they said they was going to do a big publicity marketing campaign for us, but nothing happened. We all moved over. We had no backing at all from Reform other than this offer of the 6,500. We did the local election. We didn't win any seats at Borough. The ones we'd got we lost, but we did come second in quite a few of them. But we did win 7 seats on a town council at Hena. So no recognition from the party at all, from Reform. We were just dismissed, sort of thing, that we were non-existent. So we carried on. Then the general election was called a year later, and we won the 7 seats on the town council, and then we found there was a little thing within the local councils that they didn't like being filmed. So we've got a guy called Alan who's got various cameras, 360 cameras. He went to a council meeting and set his camera up, and the councillors all walked out. So we thought, oh, we might be able to get a few more by-elections. So we started doing this, and councillors were dropping out all over the place. So we went after the seats as they came available, and we were winning them all. A couple of our members, original members, decided to leave the group because they were getting harassed by other members from other parties. So they left, but we won the seats back. And then we started winning all the other seats. So I think we were up to about 11 or 12 seats, but not all on the same council, various councils. And then the general election was called. So we went and fought that. We got 12,152 votes, I think, came second. But looking at what happened on the night, there was a woman in question who was putting bundles of ballots in the Labour trays. We saw it on 4 occasions, but the returning officer wouldn't do anything about it. And then after he denied we'd even asked him to look at it. But we'd asked him 4 times that night. When it came to the presentation of the figures, we said we just wanted that one table check-in. Someone in the Labour group to our right said we were just sore losers and just accept the result. So we did accept the result, but we knew deep down we had won. We told Farage about it, that we'd basically won, and then we started getting hostility from the party because we'd come so close. They didn't like the fact that we was winning local election seats. And he told me that we don't need these councillors. I don't want parish and town councillors. They're not important to us. Which I thought was bizarre, because you want to start from the base and work your way up. So we'd got all these parish and town councillors on 3 different councils. We've got 4 now. We've got 1 on Codner, 4 on Shipley, 9 on Heanor, and then there's the 2 of us on Derbyshire. So we're quite spread out across the area.
And was that at the start of 2024 then, or more
24? Yeah. This was 24 after the general election. But then we were starting to hear rumours from other branches around the county that people were being removed who were questioning things or working really well. Nobody was bothering with us at the time. And then we were told that we had to put everybody through vetting. So we kept sending people off to be vetted. Nothing ever came back from anybody. So we still contested the election.
And that, when you say vetting, was it clear what process they went through?
You just had to fill a form in online.
And was that like a DBS vetting for criminal records?
No, it was I think there was about 15 or maybe 20 pages you had to go through, and then put a CV attachment to it. I did it just after the conference in September. Phil did it in September. A month later we'd heard nothing.
What sort of things did it ask then? Was it asking you to tell them all your Facebook pages and social media?
You had to give all your numbers for any Facebook pages.
Yeah.
You had to do a CV, and then it asked you your political history, where you lived, everything like that. We put them all through, no reply. And then one of our candidates who won, we sent all his information off. 2 months later, nothing was heard from. So he stood in the election anyway. We signed him off. He won 57.7% of the vote, got elected. No issues. There was no issues at all. Nobody found anything wrong with him. We even got acknowledgement from Richard Tice and Nigel Farage, brilliant, or thumbs up or clapping emojis. So we then did another election prior to that, where Mark Hibbard and Alan Abathany got elected. They said they'd found something from social media with one of the candidates where it had a photograph with Katie Hopkins, and but that was the issue. There was a photograph of Katie Hopkins.
Well, it doesn't mean you endorse someone, does it? Just
No.
if you're in a photo with somebody.
No. So we wasn't interested in it. So they're perfectly fine people as far as we're concerned. So we did like our own sort of vetting system, where we put people in different WhatsApp groups. We check them out, see if they're far right or anything like that. If they are, they don't go any further.
Yeah.
And then various members check each person out. So if there's nothing on their social media, we let them go through, and that's how we did it ourselves. So if there was anything wrong with any of our candidates, it had been all over social media, but there was nothing at all from any of them.
Well, at that time, media was pretty hot, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Particularly I think it was the Mail on Sunday, wasn't it? It ran a series of campaigns, or a series of news items, looking at people campaigning and digging through their history. And some of what they found weren't the biggest news items ever, but they were enough to see people out of the party, weren't they?
Mm.
So there was a strong kind of media interest, and I think even Farage said himself, didn't he, that I don't know how true this was, that he was using media as a way to vet his candidates.
Mm. We never had any issues with anybody. I mean, most of the people have been active in the community for 2 or 3 years. Myself for 15 years. Phil probably about 6-7 years. So everybody was known, but there was no issues with anybody. Yet when we finally left Reform, Farage said we was a branch out of control. And
What date was that then?
Well, we found out, I think it was about the 29th of December, but I was actually suspended on the 15th of December, along with hundreds of other people, because everybody we've spoken to since seemed to have got suspended on the 15th of December.
Yeah.
That seems to be a common date. So they must have had a long meeting that day to decide to suspend so many people, or whether it was all pre-planned and they just sent them off. But a lot of our people who resigned were told weeks later that they'd been thrown out the party because they'd joined another party, and not one member of them's joined a party since, which was bizarre.
So what did Reform expect to happen then? So they'd thrown out, like yourself and lots of other people. Did they just expect to keep Reform, had they got someone in the sidelines to take over what they considered to be the Reform support in this kind of area and all those other areas?
We had various rumours that they wanted to remove myself plus our group because we'd made it so successful here. It was a secure seat for somebody. The first one that approached me was the local area manager. She wanted to stand there, and then she dropped it a few times that Zia Youssef was wanting to stand in this seat because we got it to a position where it was an easy win. And then we heard about other people being removed around the country. So I applied 3 times for vetting. So I paid £110 altogether, 3 memberships and 3 vetting fees. Because every time you went online, the computer recognised you. It said, "Hello Alex," or "Welcome Alex," something like that. So you filled your form in the first time in September, sent it off. They said they never received it. Then a bit later on.
But presumably you got an email acknowledgement that you'd completed the form.
It came up on the screen.
Yeah.
It said, "Thank you for applying," or something like that. Or "You'll be hearing from us soon." But at the time, I never thought about screenshotting it.
Yeah.
But I've got the receipts on my bank statement to say that I've paid all the monies. Because why otherwise would you keep paying 25 quid and £10 straight after? So I've got 3 membership numbers as well. But as far as I know, I've only been suspended on 1. But I've had no membership cards, only these membership certificates. I've got these 3 membership certificates. The second time I joined online, filled the application in, paid the £10, and then nothing again. Then we were told by Graham Young that he was fast trackers. So all he wanted was names and addresses of all the candidates we was putting through for Derbyshire County Council and anybody else for local by-elections. So we did that.
Yeah.
3 weeks later, nothing. I've got all the WhatsApp messages to prove it. Nothing was received. He then came back to me, sorry mate, I can't get you fast tracked. You're going to have to go through the normal process. All the other members were a bit fed up at this time. So I applied again, had to join online again, paid me 25 quid, paid the £10, got through to the CV, and it wouldn't accept my CV this time. So I then sent the CV to a guy called Jack Oliver. Sent it through to him. He acknowledged he'd received it. And I looked the other day. He acknowledged he received it the day before they suspended me. And he said, thanks, you'll get your information through soon. So they knew then that they were going to suspend us, but they were still playing us along. Because I think that their idea was that they'd play us along right the way up to the election, so we've got no time to prepare to fight the elections. So in the meantime, our chairman was sent emails of candidates that they'd approved, yet they'd not approved any of us, yet they were approving people nobody knew about. And then
so you were being given names then that were
Yeah.
the chosen names, if you like,
Yeah.
for the area.
Yeah. So on one of the groups of names, there was a guy on there. When we contacted him, well, our chair contacted him, this guy didn't even want to stand. He was applying for a bodyguard's job. And he was surprised. He was asking him if he wanted to stand, because he said he didn't apply for that.
So what was that around the sort of November, December time then? Was
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So then after then, I know it kind of hit the press, didn't it, about a whole batch of councillors, like, you know, was that January time?
January, yeah.
And then did that change the situation with reform then? After, because I know there was, you'd mentioned before, there's been an issue about you even knowing that you'd been, you know, kicked out of the party.
Well, somewhere around the 15th, our chair was notified that I was going to be suspended, and she wasn't to tell me, and she said that, well, how does he know? And she says, well, that's between him and the party. And I didn't know, because my emails had stopped working on the 26th of November.
Yeah.
And so then I got quite a few snotty emails, WhatsApp messages from Tom Waterhouse saying that I needed to provide him with a email address that works, so he could send me an email. I said, what's in the email? And he says, I can't tell you that, you've got to give me the email address. So I spoke to Ben, and Ben says, just drag it out for a bit. So we dragged it out till the 29th of December, and then I sent him an email address. I got the email back, and I couldn't believe it. They were saying I was being suspended for fraudulently putting candidates forward without authority. And I thought, well, I've never done this.
Yeah.
So we contacted the Amber Valley Borough Council, and then found out that the certificate had ran out on the 1st of September, which prior to that, the certificate was there for a year.
And that's the delegated authority, isn't it, to be a nominating officer for the party?
Yeah.
And does that normally come from a valid nominating officer then?
Yeah.
The main one declared to the Electoral Commission, isn't it?
Alan Graves was the national nominating officer. But then we found out he wasn't even a member of Reform UK. He was a member of Reform Derby, which, according to the Electoral Commission, isn't affiliated. And it's not written up that it's part of Reform UK.
And if you...
So
the Constitution at the time said that to be a member of the party, you needed to be a shareholder, and he wasn't a shareholder at the time.
No, he wasn't even a member.
No.
So he couldn't give me that position. So everybody I'd signed off and everybody he'd signed off aren't valid.
And where did it go from there then? Was that...
Well, Reform UK then wrote to Amber Valley saying they wanted the police involved to investigate me, because when I spoke to Amber Valley, they didn't seem interested until they were pressurised by Reform UK. But then we've heard nothing since. And from when we spoke to the police the last time, they said there was no investigation at the moment into me, but there was going to be an investigation into Alan Greaves for issuing certificates when he wasn't a member of the party.
Sounds very messy, to say the least.
Yeah.
And is that then, since that...
I've not heard anything since.
And since then, you're sort of standing as an independent.
Yeah, we're independent.
And Reform are putting forward their own candidates, aren't they, for May the 1st?
All majority of paper in Amber Valley, because we've been in contact with all the branches across Derbyshire who still support us and we support them. And their local area organiser was calling all the local branches, asking them to put forward members because they couldn't find members to stand. And I've had calls with some of the members that they don't want to stand. And one's even said he's going to resign if he gets elected.
And when you follow the kind of Reform strategy for the campaigning, it seems to be sort of fairly consistent. Every council that they say they'll fix it because it's broken, all flyers seem to have a picture of Nigel Farage on. And they don't, especially, they'll talk about figures, maybe spending very broadly with some councils, but then it will talk a lot about national issues. So they seem to be running campaigns based on national issues that I'm not quite sure are really going to resonate for like local councillors. And I particularly look at yourself on that because like you're very much a community first councillor and party second.
It's always community first.
And there's a reason why you've got a bib on at the moment, isn't there? To be right.
Yeah.
Because of the work that you've done in the community.
Yeah.
And now I'm quite amazed with that. I've spoken to many councillors over the years, but I don't think I've spoken to any that have done as much work as you do, both directly yourself and facilitating budgets and support for people. So I know, what was it, 14 years now you said you've been there?
Almost 15.
15. Yeah. Are there particular highlights over that time? Putting all the politics, if you think, to the side, are there particular highlights over that time of being a councillor? Was it difficult to pull out?
Highlights. Well, it's a bit depressing sometimes because you clean an area up one week and you go back the next week and it's worse.
It's the areas that never stop giving.
But 10 years ago, 14 years ago when we started, we probably filled 4 or 5 skips in a month because there was that much rubbish on the streets. Yeah. And it's got better since we started providing bins because the local council don't like supplying bins. Their attitude is that it'll be May soon, the leaves will be coming out and you won't see the litter. So we provided 38 local litter bins, we provide 87 grit bins, we maintain them, we fill the grit bins and we empty the bins every week. We get some of the lefties moaning and sending us the odd picture of a bin that's overloaded, but
but that can happen at the end of a bank holiday day, can't it? In all areas, it can be tricky to keep on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, we had a bin today that's been attacked by squirrels or something because it's all been ate underneath, and you pull the bag out and the rubbish goes everywhere because they get inside the little holes underneath.
But apart from that, then you've done, which is very honourable work for sure. You've done a lot of work though, listening to communities, haven't you? And facilitating things. So where community groups then have asked for support and sometimes finance, you've kind of been there to help them.
Yeah, all the local community groups, we've helped them financially or like manpower because they can't get anybody else to come and help them. Same with the market traders at Christmas when all the markets are set up for Christmas festivals. It's virtually, we're the only people other than their own helpers that do it. Nobody else comes out.
And why is the council themselves not stepping up to the mark?
They're not interested. Majority of the other councillors, other than our group, only do it for the letters after the name, the councillor.
No, but I mean the council officer. Why is the council themselves not putting staff to empty these bins themselves?
Well, they say it's all down to cutbacks.
I think. Am I right in thinking that
they've got the money?
They're not obliged to provide things like toilets and bins, are they?
No.
So in a way they can cut those, but I think it's an expectation, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're also part of essential services.
Yeah,
they need to provide these. I mean, Langley Mill could be thriving, busy places, but they just hold it all back. we could do so much for the towns.
And is that, are you sort of talking about the development of like the public realm then, and the making it look right, in other words, and making it a place for people to want to be?
Well, as you come into Amber Valley, you come down the A610, you can either go straight onto Ripley or you can come off at Langley Mill. But as soon as you come in and you see rubbish and litter everywhere, you don't want to stop. You just want to go. But we've tried to clean this area up, and I've tried to get funding from the local parish council. But hopefully in the next few years we'll control these councils and we can start doing more. But when you're doing it on a very small budget of your own allowance, it's hard to do it, because we've got permission to put planters in places. The council aren't interested, but they're sitting on thousands in the bank. They could spend £10,000 out of the budget, put planters as you drive into Langley Mill, as you drive into Ripley. The A610 needs cleaning up. It's a mess. All the grass verges are overgrown. There's litter everywhere. I think we probably only clean the A610, the Derbyshire end, lucky if it's once a year.
But if we turn the clock back, like, well, maybe 20 years, then all this used to be done, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'm similar to a lot of people. We're both, we're sort of confused with what we now get for our taxpaying, as a taxpayer.
Well, I think back in the 70s, I was told by one officer we had 9 road sweepers at Amber Valley. And I don't know if that's the exact figure, but I was told it was something around that. We've got one now, one large road sweeper for the roads. The rest are all the little town centre ones. But the local parish councils and town councils could buy one of these between them, these little ones, and they could maintain the streets. Instead of waiting for the council one to come along, they could be on it every week.
Are you talking about one of these little trucks then that can road sweepers,
little scarabs?
Yeah. And I think people would be all over that as a sort of a good result.
I mean, it's by providing these extra 30 odd bins, it's proved that we don't have to do so much litter picking. We do it, but it's not to the extent it was 10 years ago. I think about 5-6 years ago we started putting the litter bins out, and now we're up to the 38. The grit bins, they're always used when we have bad weather, and I'll get messages wanting more, but it's all down to funding that's available. And
just coming back to the sort of political scene then, locally, where do you think that will go then? I know you said you were Conservative and then Reform, and you've sort of developed quite a good base with kind of your associates, really. Where do you think it will go on the 1st of May? Well,
when we've been talking to people on the street, a lot of people still think we're Reform. So because when they go to the ballot box, they're going to be looking at these boxes, and they're probably going to be ticking the Reform box, because the independent box is going to be empty. We've got no logo. It's just got our name and it says independent. And I mean, I spoke to 9 people the other day on one street, and they all said they were voting for us, but thought we were Reform.
Yeah.
And then we had to explain to them, but then they said they were still going to vote for us. But
am I right in thinking you can't have a logo, can you, if you're independent?
Not if you're independent, no. Unless you've got one registered. But we haven't, because we're not registered with individuals.
Yeah.
But we've called ourselves the Amber Valley Independents, but we've got no logo. We've got a logo on the leaflet, but we can't have that recognised by the Electoral Commission. We haven't had time to do it.
So it's all up for grabs then?
So it's a bit difficult, yeah. Hopefully we'll get some seats, but we'll have to wait and see.